Joncameron, I'm going to go over a couple things with you and make sure we understand how this works, right? What is so different about this technology compared to any other device on the planet? This is a talk I did at the Toby conference. It's a bunch of regenerative medicine doctors across the country. And like some of the stats I'm going to show you today are literally on other doctors' failures. So we have research that shows that we can get at 65 to 91% success rate with general pain and musculoskeletal type issues. So, and this comes from like, you're going to see some of the top orthopedists and foot and ankle specialists in North America were using this. So, you know, we always say when nothing else works, this is one of the things we like to do. This is Martin O'Malley. Tell me if you can hear this.
Good afternoon. My name is Dr. Martin O'Malley. I'm an orthopedic surgeon. I practice at the Hospital for Special Surgery in New York. And also I'm a team physician for the Brooklyn Nets, the New York Giants, and for USA Basketball. We'll spend a few minutes talking about our experience with the Softwave technology from TRT Technologies. We first purchased our machine back in 2014, so we've had them for about 8 years. We started with one, but because the demand became so great, we had to purchase the second one, and we're quite happy with our results. I practice with two other orthopedic surgeons. We are all team doctors for different professional teams, and this is our office. And I'll show you our machine. So we go down to our office, and this is the most common thing that we use on a daily basis for non-operative care. It is the Softwave technology. The machine is pretty compact. It's easy to use. We can dial up the power on it, on the millijoules. It's the medical assistants or the PAs are the ones who actually perform the Softwave. We indicate the patients. They come back off and on in the operating room. The patients will have a whole list of shockwaves. We have shockwaves today. We have 5 shockwaves. We have 6 shockwaves. Pretty easy to use. A foot pedal. Dial intensity to what you to whatever indication you have. We've had great experience. We see a lot of plantar fasciitis, a lot of Achilles tendonitis. Those are our 2 main indications for, but any of the tendinopathy is very effective for. Also, because we do foot and ankle, we have some diabetic patients. We have diabetic wounds, and actually it's approved by the FDA for diabetic wounds. We've had some really remarkable studies for wound healing. You have to put a sterile cover over it, but in order to recruit stem cells and form new stem cells, the TRT technology is really good. The biggest advantage is really the Softwave technology. Because it's Softwave, it's more diffuse wave, the patients can do it without anesthesia. And even though there's a CPT code for it, insurance doesn't reimburse for it, but we have no problem getting the patients to pay for it. The patients are very willing to pay to get better, and especially for technology that works. We published a study back in, I think it was 2020 in the Journal of Foot and Ankle Surgery, using Softwave unfocused technology, medium intensity for plantar fasciitis, and we had 85% success rate. So we're very happy with it. It's really part of our daily practice here at Sports Foot and Ankle. And I'm not sure how you can practice in 2022 as a sports medicine physician without using some sort of shockwave.
This technology, it's so cool.
It has a tremendous number of randomized control studies showing the technology works. And compared to the other devices, I think the TRT device is the most user-friendly and the most effective. Thank you.
Okay.
You know what I mean? So that
can you pause it real quick? I mean,
yeah.
So just really quick, what are the things I noticed? So you had an authority right off the bat, right?
Mm-hmm.
Where was he standing? He was central in the frame, and then what'd you have in that corner right there? Odell Beckham Jr. And then he had, and then as he was walking the camera, there was this subliminal background authority building athlete, Durant. I missed some of them, but it was like athlete.
Oh, no, I know.
Athlete.
He's the foot and ankle specialist for the NBA. And,
right.
A lot of NFL teams. We got into the Miami Dolphins because of him, Orlando Magic, LA Lakers. I mean, yeah, even Dallas Cowboys loved that. Like, Dallas Cowboys got this for the second season. So yeah.
So this makes a lot of sense to me. I mean, and then I was I mean, he obviously put a laundry list of plantar fasciitis, anything with tendons, pretty much, diabetic patients that need help, wound healing with something to cover it. It helps form stem cells. I mean, so it even kind of falls and also into regenerative medicine,
Exactly.
deeply.
I mean, that's,
and regenerative medicine's huge. I mean, it's like you're basically helping the body self-heal.
yeah, but the people over the last 7 years, there's been some, I don't want to name and shame, but it's been a market where the FTC and the FDA are kind of really coming down on, and you have to have your
all your ducks in a row.
Yes, exactly. But
Yep.
I've found that when you use this technology in a regenerative medicine setting, that it builds longevity to your business. Because, in algorithm healthcare, you don't start with the most expensive, most invasive thing, right? You're not going to inject a $7,000, some type of biological fluid where we don't know where it's coming from, and it's going into a body. Like, you start on this level, and you exhaust all alternative and non-invasive and less expensive things before you get to, okay, so if you can get 65 to 90%, success with our technology, there's still 10 to 35% of people who are going to need more stuff. But if you follow this algorithm, you're doing what's best for the patient. You're not doing what's best for the doctor's pocketbook. And I mean, I've had so many doctors in this regenerative medicine world who are like, and these are the numbers that you'll love. They have 80% of their people are coming from out of state, and they have 82% of the people saying no. So that means only 18% are saying yes, but it's a $27,000 package. And I told this guy, I showed him how, give me your 82% of no's, and I'll have a drop-down kind of program with this. And this device will pay itself in 2 months. He'll make $40,000 per month just from the people saying no to his bigger plan. Instead, he's letting them walk out the door.
Yeah, so it's a downsell. It's a downsell. You can also bundle it in to accelerate results.
And you can use it like the day of before or the day before they're injecting, and you scan this. And remember, if you run this over normal tissue, there's no pain. But as soon as you run it over an area of inflammation, poor circulation, damaged tissue, arthritis, there's this biofeedback component where the doc's like right there. So you can really pinpoint where the pain is coming from. And I think that's what it gives us, like the diagnostic part of this. We know within 5 minutes if a patient's going to be a candidate for this, because if we scan an area and we can't elicit any type of pain or discomfort or find any of those trigger points, they're not a candidate. And the more pain they have during the treatment, the better clinical outcomes. So as they're like, we're like, hey, I'll stop. I'll give them a rest. I said, do you think this is normal or abnormal tissue? Oh, it's abnormal. Oh, it hurts. I'm like, well, the good thing is you're a candidate, and you do qualify for this. So what I'm going to do now, I'm going to turn this from a diagnostic level. I'm going to turn the energy level down to more of a healing mode. And we're going to start your first treatment today. And they're like, okay. And we start working on them. And before the end of that treatment, they have noticed less pain, less discomfort. And they, in their mind, are realizing this is getting better already. And that's, I think, the beautiful part about this is that the wow factor for the patient. And again, it's turning off the inflammatory process for 15 to 20 hours. One session doesn't fix everything, but initiates that whole cascade of a regenerative healing. It tricks your body into thinking there's new injury without damaging tissue at all.
So that's yep.
And I want to show you how. And now you tell me if you're good with this. You want to go a little more? We can break it up.
I mean, the science for me, I love, like, I'm a nerd. I'm a gigantic nerd. So I've worked with regenerative docs as well. This stuff is kind of in my wheelhouse because I like to understand the tech, but I still want to understand the psychology. Like, for me, the psychology is what makes good marketing, but this kind of stuff helps overcome objections. So
genuine lithotripsy has been around for 40 years.
Yeah, it's old.
It's
old tech.
I had one guy say, you're like the Indiana Jones. I'm a retired professor that happened to fall upon this forgotten medical device that has been used over 40 years with 85% success rate. at breaking up kidney stones and biliary stones and salivary stones. But literally, this is a third generation. So it's not the, $3 million ones that the hospitals use there where you need anesthetics. This is low energy, it's lower intensity, it's focused, meaning like the whole bottom of a can of water is the treatment area, instead of like the other radial devices that have the treatment area of this. So you can imagine how long it takes to do with a radial device to do a whole hand, where, again, this is a little bigger, but it takes me 3 minutes to do a hand, 4
Right.
minutes to do a shoulder, 5 minutes to do a low back, 4 minutes to do a knee. And what lithotripsy is it's actually taking two natural occurring phenomena, basically the lightning bolt and thunder, and putting it into a handheld applicator that we can point at the body. So these supersonic sound waves are traveling 3,355 miles an hour. They're electrohydraulically produced sound waves. So you have a little spark plug inside that probe that elicits a supersonic sound wave. And I'll show you in a second how it works. But John Warlick, our CEO and founder, and some of our engineers from Germany developed a parabolic reflector. So it allows you to go the depth of a soup can into the body and not need anesthetics. It's not super painful. It's lower intensity. So it's compressing the cell membrane and then expanding it. But we see supersonic sound waves in nature with these jets and Top Gun, right? It's like supersonic, and our waves are traveling at 4.4 the speed of sound.
So it's Mach 4.4, yeah.
Mach 4.4. And if you look at it, this is a real shockwave, a genuine lithotripsy has this high pressure, low pressure, okay? And so this is a positive force, and then you have this negative shearing force when you go under the x-axis. And this is where we theorize that a lot of the positive biological effect happens, this high pressure, low pressure. These are radial devices and they just don't have the amplitude that we have. And we have two waves where everyone else has just a primary wave. We have a secondary wave where we think that's what sets us apart. And this is looking at all the other devices. The blue one you see here is a diagnostic ultrasound. It's just a sine wave. That's like 1950s technology. Then you can see a radial device here. That's just a little medical stylus that pounds on the tissue and has the depth of about that far into the body. So it's only working superficially. Ours can go, again, the depth of a soup can in there.
Right. The pressure,
it almost
you can
like
see it's pretty.
It almost looks like a cardiac wave.
Right.
It's like boop, boop. So, and this is what sets us apart, is this mechanotransduction. And you can see that high pressure, it really is first compressing the cell membrane. And then in the lower pressure part here, this is all happening in 3 to 4 microseconds. So 3 to 4 times a second, this is hitting a cell, and then it's expanding it by 10%. Now, a virus and bacteria have weak lipid membranes. They can't withstand it. We actually will pulverize bacteria and even viruses. So this is important. The human or animal cell membrane is strong and rigid. Okay. And when we have this supersonic sound waves, it's actually shedding off oxidative agents that build up on a cell membrane. And once you free that, it improves the cell membrane permeability. And now you're getting nutrients in and fluids and waste products out. But the second part of the shearing force is that you're shedding microvesicles and messenger RNA and exosomes. And these are, it's almost like turning on a communication switch between the cells, this network of cells, right? I want you to think Avatar, right? Because what it does is these little vesicles and messenger RNAs go out and say, hey, they call to the innate immune system and say, help us over here. We've got, we've been hit by supersonic sound waves. We don't know what's happened. We have to assess it. So the immune system sends their first responders. which are like interleukin 6 and 10 and cytokines and toll-like receptor 3 and 4, which those toll-like receptor 3 helps modulate inflammation, which is usually present, right? When you get an injury or get hit by a truck or sunburn or get a sliver in your finger, you get that inflammation. And this helps modulate the inflammation and really speed the body's natural healing ability, even in wounds, diabetic foot ulcers, where you heard Dr. O'Malley say we have class 2 clearance. So we're even getting paid by Medicare on that. So this is important, mechanotransduction. There's a new phrase coming out called mechanoflammation. That's the newest concept, that we're downregulating inflammation. And if you look at the last 50 years in pharmacology, the holy grail for a drug company would be to create a drug, a pill or injection that stops inflammation. Okay, that's a multi-billion-dollar. They've been searching for 50 years. But what if it's not a pill or a drug that you put inside the body, but what if it's using like 2 natural occurring phenomenons, a lightning bolt and thunder? And who'd have thought? You put it and point it at the body and you get a positive biological response. This is why this is $1 billion disruptive industry. And this again talks about, there's a physical, chemical, biological. And this is all the good stuff that happens. Increases angiogenesis, starts the tissue regeneration process and the healing, turns off the death of cell and necrosis, and it downregulates inflammation. So these are all
apoptosis. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
There's a lot of therapeutic effects. That's why I was talking to, this regenerative crew of doctors and pioneers in this. I do feel like, stem cells are the future of healthcare, but right now they're the future for millionaires and professional athletes. This is for the working class man, the blue collar guy, because it's true regenerative cellular healing at a fraction of the price. And, you only need a handful of sessions to get the optimal results. So,
I can see it.
Dr. Shodden is really I call him the OG of research for the last 25 years. He's an amazing guy, and he's now our international medical director and president of the International Shockwave Symposium. So he was the guy in the Austrian workers' comp system that was a hand surgeon, European renowned, and to somebody get their hand run over in a bike accident and it'd be smushed, and he'd sew it together, and he might have to put external pins in, but then he'd softwave it, and they would see the bones, the metacarpal fractures heal quicker, and then the skin so he would call back to our CEO, John Warlick, and say, hey, I think that this is helping grow bone back. And then 2 weeks later, he's like, I think this is helping tissue. We need to get patents on these. And John Warlick and his wonderful brain and would put together these great patents. We have over 46 patents now, including one for peripheral nerve elongation or regeneration.
What's interesting, when you look at like chameleons, you look at axolotls, you look at a lot of some lizards that can regenerate. It's directly tied to the direct current they can send through their skeletal system. So if you think about it, reverse engineer that from the opposite end, if you're sending energy into the bone structure, into the systems, that current, that energy gives it enough to regrow back quicker. So
yeah, I mean, and again, it's putting that, it's all transfer of energy. It's sound waves. Who knew that light, sound waves, vibration would really be the new drug in 2022?
Well, I mean, if you think about what our cells are made of, I mean, these are all universal elements. And how can we get closer to, the way I think about it is, how can we get closer to 10,000 years ago? What we were doing 10,000 years ago, 20,000 years ago as a people.
Well, how does our body heal at the basic level? What you're saying.
So like if we go back 20,000, 25,000 years, what things were happening to us? We were sleeping on the ground. We were getting more water. We were out in nature more. We weren't eating all this bullshit. Like And so if
No,
we
I mean, those are good points.
consider if we supercharge that with piece of
The
tech.
result is supernatural healing.
Yep.
That's I mean, that's what a lot of doctors who have, been in healthcare for 20 years, and then all of a sudden they put this in their practice and like, who knew? Why didn't I know about it? So, it's like we are in a class of one, and I explain this to you. But this is Dr. Shodden explaining it, and this is molecules up here, and this is our unique fingerprint or sound wave, that how it transfers through the body. And what I want you to do is I want you to see up in here where the wave is hitting, but also what's happening afterwards. It's like when you're sitting on a beach and you're standing and the water hits you first, it's a positive force, but when that water sucks back into the ocean, it's still strong enough to almost knock you off your feet. So let's see if I can play this.
Would move when they are hit by a shockwave. You see, there is always this negative movement at the end of each cycle. You see, when the negative is,
Yeah.
will
Here.
move backside. And this.
So, that's what's cool, that we can see how that works. And this one is pretty cool because it shows the different ones that are out there. There's a Piezio, there's electromagnetic, there's radial, and nothing penetrates the depth as ours. So this has never been seen before, this footage. This just came last Monday from Dr. Shodden while he was visiting us. So I'm going to show you this because now.
Here, how a piezoelectric shockwave is produced. This
Flips.
is how the electromagnetic would be produced. This is the cylindric one, in the dualith. And this is a very.
This is the next one. This talks about spark gap. This is, what makes ours so different is we have this technology where you'll see over here that creates that spark. So watch the difference. You're going to see a primary and secondary wave here.
With the spark gap, we put there, for instance, 20 kV, and then we produce a spark. But to see the shockwave, which is developing that quickly, even if you take 100,000 photos per second, you don't see it. You need 5 million photos per second. And then between this and this picture, you will see this is the shockwave front that is developing. It is, of course, developing spherically. So when you put, this is how the shockwave would
This is ours.
develop. And when you put this source into an ellipsoid, you see how the shockwave is reflected and then concentrated.
No other shockwaves have a primary and a secondary wave.
This is what I wanted to say now.
Damn it.
And what you see is.
This is our
Nobody ever
CEO, John
measures the
Warlick.
primary wave. All is minus 60. It's never on the. Nobody's ever measured the primary wave.
I think it's in the.
Him right there?
I have.
Yeah, that's John. Badass. Brilliant photographic memory. But this is our technology, and this is, producing a true supersonic sound wave, genuine lithotripsy, we like to say. So this shows, the heat that comes out and the depth of penetration. And we've done this against all of our other competitors. And again, there's nothing else on the planet that works like this. This parabolic reflector here is what keeps those waves to go so deep as a soup can.
It's tight. Yeah.
Yeah. And this is the one on top is for non-healing fractures. It's a little more focused. And the one on the bottom is unfocused. And this is what 87% of our sales are, this one on the bottom. It's cleared, activation of connective tissue, class 2, treatment of diabetic foot ulcers, treatment of second-degree wounds, burns, and then registered as class 1 for pain reduction, improvement of circulation. And this is like what we do on a wound. If you could help us find more wound centers, podiatrists, that would be huge, and plastic surgeons, because they're the ones that they're doing they're going in and they're doing amputations. This guy had already lost 2 toes, his 2 lateral toes, And then he was about to lose, they don't just cut half a foot off. They do below the knee. But this is also one case. And then another case, you see this is a side view of the ankle. I'm going to put my arrow on the part, if I can find that arrow. Where the heck is it? The arrow, I can't even.
Well, I mean, I could see like this cloudy center right
That's the talus bone that was non-healing for over 4 months. And this is after 3 treatments delivered every 10 days for a month. It was healed. So we like that. Tons of studies. There's over 133 peer-reviewed studies right now, just for our device. And basically, wherever we place it on the human body, there's a comprehensive cellular regeneration. So, I mean, they're using it on heart. Cardiologists are using it during, I want to go back to that one. Yeah, so cardiologists are using it, and, it helps improve mitochondrial function, which is really the powerhouse to the cells. And the thing you got to remember is every year that you have a birthday, your mitochondria will get a little weaker and a little weaker. And this is really helps jumpstart your body and helps it utilize oxygen better at a higher efficiency rate. So, but the cardiologist is using it and seeing during open heart surgery with 67 patients and seeing a 10% improvement in left ventricular ejection fraction, even 1 year later. So it's a stable. Stem cell recruitment and activation within 45 minutes. We've got 24 papers that are showing that, half animal and half human. But we keep every month there's a new one that comes out. So men's and women's sexual health, you name it, we like it. And these are a lot of the conditions. I'm not going to, just anything with inflammation or a sports injury, it works really well with. I've never seen anything work better for shin splints, turf toe, chondromalacia patella, which is tracking of that patella. And that's what Michael Jordan had. That's why he always wore that neoprene knee brace with the hole in the middle. So he'd still be playing if he had this.
And that would be scary.
We're in Cleveland Clinic, Mayo Clinic, Sloan Kettering, we're with Pittsburgh Steelers. I mean, we're in, 5 different NBA teams. LeBron James gets this done weekly, if not daily, during the season. Children's Hospital, Scottish Rite outside of Cleveland as well for kids with cleft palates. They use it at the end of the surgery to help accelerate the
healing process.
Yep. So it's effective, it's proven, it's convenient. People think like, oh, I'm just hearing about Softwave. Well, we've been around for 15 years. We're not a one-hit wonder. We've been doing this, and we've got a great track record with it. And we've helped place, over 620 of these across the country. And, every day, thousands of people are having access to this now. And we're on a mission to end pain and suffering for millions of people around the planet. And, these doctors that we're working with, they're like the Navy SEALs of healthcare providers. They're on the cutting edge. They're getting the most elite and proficient training. They're getting a specialized niche knowledge on how to utilize this. And the cool thing is within 2 months, they got it down. I mean, they might ask some questions, things like that, but that Softwave University, that community is really to create almost like grand rounds so that we can have the best possibility out there for doctors to learn from their peers. And that's it.